Last year, Orlando's housing market looked unstoppable until average prices dropped by nearly 5%, inventory exploded by a third, and sellers started slashing prices across the city. The reality behind the Florida-Orlando housing market crisis is far from a headline. Insurance turmoil, rising mortgage rates, and an uneasy shift from boom to uncertainty. But is this a warning sign of collapse or a messy return to normal? The answers reveal what comes next for thousands of Floridians. In the spring of 2020, Orlando's housing market entered a period few could have predicted. Home values began to climb at a pace not seen in decades, fueled by a wave of remote workers, retirees, and investors eager for Florida's sun and tax breaks. By the summer of 2022, the median home price in Orlando had surged by roughly 51% from pre-pandemic levels. Streets once dotted with modest listings now featured bidding wars and cash offers well above asking price. For many, it felt like the only direction was UP. But this extraordinary run-up set in motion a powerful force: lock-in. Homeowners who bought or refinanced during the boom secured mortgage rates near 3%, numbers that now seem almost mythical. As interest rates began to climb in late 2022 and into 2023, the calculus shifted. Selling a home meant giving up a low monthly payment for a new loan at nearly double the rate. For most, that was a deal-breaker. The result? Fewer people willing to list, in a market where supply should have been tight, but instead inventory started to rise as investor-owned homes and new construction flooded the scene. Jared Jones, a local real estate analyst, describes the mood as a standoff. People are frozen, he explains. They remember the wild price gains and low payments, so they're reluctant to move unless they absolutely have to. It's not just about the money. It's the psychology of coming down from such a high. Through 2023 and 2024, the number of homes selling in Orlando dropped sharply. In July 2025, just 3,100 homes closed across the metro, the lowest monthly tally since 2012. Sellers clung to old price expectations, but buyers, facing higher borrowing costs, had new leverage. The days of instant sales and waived inspections faded quickly. Price reductions became common, and the average home sat on the market for weeks, not days. The fevered pace of appreciation had left its mark. Many residents, especially those who bought near the top, found themselves questioning whether the market would ever return to those heights. The expectation of endless growth, once so widely held, now seemed out of reach. Instead, the market entered a kind of stalemate. Homeowners locked into low rates, reluctant to sell, while new buyers hesitated, wary of overpaying in a market that no longer promised quick returns. This phenomenon, part behavioral, part financial, continues to shape Orlando's housing story. The legacy of the pandemic boom is not just in the numbers, but in the psychology of a city, recalibrating its sense of what's possible and what's sustainable. Mortgage rates in Orlando have hovered between 6 and 7% since late 2024, holding steady at levels that would have seemed unthinkable just a few years ago. For buyers, this means monthly payments on a typical home, valued around $374,000, are hundreds of dollars higher than they would have been in the pandemic boom. The impact ripples through every transaction. A family searching for a starter home finds that even with a sizable down payment, the cost of borrowing eats into their budget, shrinking their options. Adjustable-rate mortgage holders, who once gambled on lower payments, now face resets that can push them into unaffordable territory. Jenna Stauffer, a broker with Sotheby's International Realty, describes the mood among clients as anxious and frustrated. We're seeing buyers who qualify for less and sellers who have to cut prices or offer concessions just to keep deals alive, she explains. The pressure isn't only from rates. Insurance has become a wild card, with premiums in Orange County now averaging between $3,300 and $4,250 per year, a jump of more than 40% since 2022. For many, insurance now rivals or even exceeds property taxes, adding another layer of difficulty for both buyers and sellers trying to close. As private insurers have pulled back, more homeowners are turning to Citizens Property Insurance, the state-backed carrier of last resort. By late 2024, Citizens covered about 1.3 million policies statewide, a number that underscores just how many Floridians have been left with no private options. In Orlando, agents report that even the Citizens safety net isn't always enough. Underwriting guidelines have tightened, and homes with older roofs or prior claims are often denied coverage, or quoted rates that make deals unworkable. The effect on the market is immediate. Lenders now routinely require insurance approval before finalizing loans, and deals can unravel at the last minute if a policy falls through. Sellers are forced to negotiate, sometimes slashing prices by tens of thousands of dollars to offset the higher monthly costs buyers face. In some cases, transactions collapse entirely, leaving homes to linger on the market for months. The combination of high borrowing costs and unpredictable insurance has introduced a new volatility, one that neither buyers nor sellers can easily plan for. As Jenna Stauffer puts it, everyone is recalibrating. The numbers just don't work the way they used to. In early June 2025, the Meridian Park subdivision in southeast Orlando stood at a crossroads. This phase, planned for 450 homes, had once been a symbol of the city's growth ambitions. But as the first summer rains hit, work on the site slowed to a crawl. Crews who had been pouring foundations and raising frames found themselves idling by the roadside or sent home early. By the week of June 9th, the slowdown was official. The developer filed a formal notice with the city, citing acute financing uncertainty and a need to reassess the project's viability. Behind the scenes, the numbers no longer worked. The cost of borrowing had climbed sharply since late 2024, squeezing access to construction loans. Lenders, wary of softening pre-sale demand and more homes sitting unsold, pulled back on funding. In a public statement released June 16th, the developer pointed to volatile rate moves, lender pullback, and softening pre-sale demand as reasons for the pause. The message to buyers and contractors was blunt. Meridian Parks was on hold until further notice. The ripple effects spread quickly. Within days, city council minutes reflected growing concern. On June 23rd, the city manager reported that the developer had requested extensions on site and utility permits, but offered no timeline for restarting work. By July, only a skeleton crew remained, tasked with basic site maintenance and erosion control. No new homes had broken ground since mid-June. For buyers who had signed contracts months earlier, the news brought anxiety and disappointment. 40 buyers dropped out in the second week of June alone, many after recalculating monthly payments with new mortgage rate sheets. Subcontractors, facing delays and payment uncertainty, demanded 20% pay increases to stay on the job. 5 crews walked off the site in a single week, unwilling to risk working without firm guarantees. The developer's correspondence with the city captured the strain. We remain committed to delivering quality homes when conditions stabilize. Until then, we must pause to preserve project integrity and protect our partners. For local officials, the halt raised questions about incomplete roads, utilities, and the broader impact on nearby neighborhoods. Residents in adjacent communities worried about half-finished streets and the sudden loss of construction jobs. The Meridian Park's pause became a visible sign of the pressures facing Orlando's new home market. A project that should have delivered hundreds of homes now stood frozen, caught between rising costs, lender caution, and buyers no longer willing or able to proceed. The empty lots and silent equipment served as a reminder. Even in a city known for its growth, the forces of finance and uncertainty can bring development to a standstill. Escrow tables across Orlando have become battlegrounds for uncertainty. In May 2025, 3 home sales, each in different neighborhoods, collapsed within days of closing. The reason wasn't a last-minute cold feet or a low appraisal, but a phone call. The insurer had pulled out. For one family in Lake Nona, it happened 48 hours before funding. Their agent scrambled for alternatives, but every quote came back either unaffordable or simply unavailable. Without proof of insurance, the lender refused to wire the money, and the deal died on the spot. Title companies now report that insurance denials are among the top reasons contracts unravel at the last minute, a sharp break from the days when financing or inspections led the list. The numbers tell the same story. In Orlando, failed closings linked to insurance have nearly doubled since 2021, with local MLS logs showing a cancellation rate of almost 4%, the highest since 2011. At least 30% of those failures are now tied directly to insurance withdrawal or denial. Brett L., managing director at a regional title group, describes a new routine. We lost 3 out of 7 scheduled closings in 1 week, all because insurance carriers pulled out. It's become part of the risk calculation. The fallout extends beyond buyers and sellers. Landlords and short-term rental owners face mounting distress as well. Foreclosure filings in Metro Orlando reached 1,093 in the third quarter of 2025, up 57% from a year earlier. The most dramatic rise comes from short-term rental properties, Airbnb and VRBO hosts, where filings have more than doubled since 2019. One host, who managed 3 units near the convention center, describes the spiral. Bookings dried up, insurance doubled, my loan reset, and I couldn't keep up. I tried to sell, but the buyer couldn't get coverage either. I lost everything. For many small landlords, the combination of rising premiums, tightening regulations, and softer tourist demand has proven impossible to withstand. Investor-owned homes now account for a growing share of foreclosure actions, with filings on non-primary residences up 100% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Title agents and lenders confirm that deals involving these properties are especially fragile, with multiple insurance pre-approvals required just to get to the closing table. The transactional fragility is changing how people approach every step of the process. Sellers are granting bigger concessions to salvage deals at risk, sometimes cutting prices by tens of thousands to offset insurance shocks. Buyers, for their part, are walking away more quickly when coverage is uncertain or costs exceed expectations. The old certainties, offer accepted, loan approved, insurance in place, no longer hold. As one short-term rental host put it, you can do everything right, but if your carrier walks, it all falls apart. In this new reality, the market's stress is measured not just in price charts or inventory tallies, but in the human toll of failed dreams and vanished security. Each lost closing, each foreclosure notice sends a ripple through neighborhoods already on edge, reminding everyone that in Orlando's housing market, nothing is guaranteed. Orlando's housing market in 2025 is anything but uniform. In Winter Park, the median list price stands at $720,000, with homes selling close to that figure and typically spending just 38 days on the market. Inventory here remains tight, with only a little over 3 months' supply, and price reductions are relatively uncommon. The story in Lake Nona is different but equally resilient. With a median list price of $640,000 and homes moving in about 35 days, demand is bolstered by new amenities, top-rated schools, and a steady influx of professionals. Builder incentives are common, but prices have actually climbed by 3.5% over the past year, keeping this area attractive for both families and investors. Contrast that with Kissimmee, where the median list price has dropped to $372,000 and inventory stretches to 5.5 months. Homes linger on the market for more than 6 weeks, and nearly 30% of listings have seen price cuts since the start of the year. Here, heavy new construction competes directly with existing homes, forcing sellers to offer deeper discounts and longer negotiations. The differences between these neighborhoods challenge any sweeping narrative about Orlando's market. Instead, the data reveal a patchwork of winners and laggards, shaped by local demand, school quality, and the flood of new builds. For buyers and sellers alike, the outcome depends as much on zip code as on broader market trends. Rising inventory and softer demand have rewritten the playbook for everyone in Orlando's real estate market. Nearly 30% of listings now see price cuts, up sharply from just 2 years ago. Sellers who once expected bidding wars are learning to lead with concessions, not just curb appeal. The average home sells for 97.79% of its list price, down from the full ask deals that dominated during the boom. For buyers, this means more room to negotiate, but also a new set of calculations. Insurance, taxes, and homeowners association fees can easily add hundreds to a monthly payment, so even discounted homes may stretch budgets further than expected. Investors face a stark new reality. Institutional purchases in Orlando have fallen by 25% in 2025, as higher costs and thinner rental yields squeeze returns. Capitalization rates, once buoyed by fast-rising rents, have compressed to levels that make quick flips or aggressive expansion risky. Many are choosing to exit, adding more properties to the market and intensifying the competition for buyers. For those still in the game, careful underwriting and a focus on long-term cash flow have replaced the chase for rapid appreciation. In this environment, every stakeholder must adapt. Sellers need to price with precision and flexibility. Buyers should scrutinize total carrying costs before making offers. Investors must run the numbers twice, factoring in not just purchase price, but the volatility of insurance and operating expenses. The days of easy wins are over. In 2025, success in Orlando's market depends on discipline, realism, and close attention to the signals in the data. In 2025, Orlando's average home value stands at $374,018, down 4.5% from a year prior. Inventory has surged to 11,000 homes listed, and nearly 30% of sellers are cutting prices. These numbers mark a dramatic shift from the 51% price growth seen during the pandemic boom. Rising mortgage rates and insurance costs have stalled deals and paused new construction, as shown by the Meridian Park's 450-unit halt and a sharp rise in failed closings. Yet the data does not indicate a market collapse. Instead, Orlando faces a correction phase marked by longer selling times and more negotiation for buyers. Questions remain about how quickly inventory will adjust and whether affordability will improve if rates stay high. For now, the evidence points to a market stabilizing, not crashing. As the region adapts, the facts underscore one constant. In Orlando real estate, fundamentals matter more than hype.